Hello, everyone. This is part one of a two-part news episode. On this first part, I talk all about what went down with Jill Zarin and her tirade against the Super Bowl halftime show. I've got all the information, all the Bravo Labs reactions, her statements after getting fired, what her company says, and much more from the kind of OG RHONY world. I also have Real Housewives of Orange County news, Married to Medicine news, Traitors news, and much more. So enjoy listening. My gift to you on today, Valentine's Day. Enjoy. Welcome to the Bravo Papers, a safe space for all us Bravo fans who love to analyze, deconstruct, and talk about our favorite Bravo shows ad nauseum. So join me, Bravo and Botox, and we'll catch up on all the Bravo news and read way too much into our favorite shows and Bravo celebrities. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bravo Papers, Bravo Weekly News, here for a special Valentine's Day episode. What is special about it? I don't know, but it's Valentine's Day and I'm recording, so we'll just kind of put those two together and go with it. There's a lot of news. There is a lot of news. My goodness. I mean, who knew that the Super Bowl was going to end up ricocheting and causing all this Bravo news, but it did. Okay. And you probably know already where I'm going with this. We need to talk about Jill Zarin and everything that happened with that, because that's probably the biggest Bravo news that's been floating around online. And I mean, everywhere. Like, I even was doing some Google searches and I see it coming up on like news websites and stuff. Like, it's like crazy. You know, this thing has kind of gone beyond just the Bravo world. Okay, so let me find, there we go. Okay. So let's file this under RHONY news, of course, OG RHONY, I guess. Now, you may have heard, okay, because at the end of January, the Real Housewives of New York's Legacy cast reportedly inked a deal with E. So not with Bravo, but with E. Okay. And the idea was that they were going to bring back Jill, Ramona, Luann, Kelly Ben Simone. Did I miss someone? Sonia. Okay. And that was kind of like the core cast. I don't know if there were going to be other people that they would bring in or if they'd have guest spots. I don't know. Okay. And, you know, a lot of people were excited about this. I'm not going to lie. You know, I was not that excited about it, not because I didn't really enjoy like the original RHONY show, because I did. It was actually one of my favorite franchises when it was like in its prime. You know, like those, like the years like when Bethany came back the second time, those were really like the peak. Like those years were so funny and just crazy, and you know, where we had like Bethany, Carol, Luann, Ramona, Sonia, um, what's her name? Heather was there for like a minute, but then she left. But like those were really good years. Okay. And they were great. But you know, here's the thing that I think I've kind of learned in life as I've gotten older is like, you really can't repeat stuff. Like, if something is amazing and you have this amazing experience, if you try to force it and make it happen again, it usually just doesn't work, right? It's like, just kind of take the great experience that you had and appreciate it. And, you know, new good experiences will come that will be different. Like, I do think that people are trying too much to force that magic to happen again. And I just don't know if it can. Like, I just don't really see it happening again, or if it's going to be too forced, or I don't know. Anyways, but I'm getting off base here. So everybody was all excited about this. And I think one of the things that we were like, oh, okay, Jill Zarin has finally got herself back on television, because Jill Zarin has been off of television for a long time. And she was supposed to be in that RHONY Legacy reboot that Bravo was doing. And then reportedly that got, you know, flushed down the toilet because Jill was being difficult with the negotiations. Okay. So she kind of ruined that. And then here she is on Super Bowl. Okay. She makes this like video after watching Bad Bunny's performance. Okay. And here's a few quotes from her video. It's now deleted, but you can definitely quickly find it, no problem, online, of course, because as we know, well, maybe Jill doesn't know, I don't know, the internet's forever, all that kind of stuff. She said a few quotes. We all agree it was the worst halftime show ever. Do we all agree? Like, I'm like, how do you make a statement like that? Like a sweeping generalization? What, because you're at home with your like husband and the two of you agree. So we all agree. Like, we don't agree. Okay. Anyways, clearly, it's 250 years that we're celebrating right now in the United States. And I just don't think it was appropriate to have it in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. I would have liked to have known the words he was saying. To me, it looked like a political statement because there were literally no white people in the entire thing. Jill, okay. So no white people means it's political. Like that in itself is such a messed up racist thing to say. Like because there's no white people, it must be, a liberal, left wing type of statement. Like that's crazy. So what you're implying is that if it's not political, that means it's going to be like mostly white people. And that means like, the default is white people, is what Jill's saying, which is insane to say. But you know what? Maybe not insane for Jill. I'm starting to see that, obviously. So then she said, I think it was an ice thing. I think the NFL sold out and it's very sad. So you're okay with the ice thing? Is that what you're saying? Like you're like down with that? It's just so crazy that she said all this. And that she thinks the NFL sold out. So why was it like, yes, there was obviously statements being made in this performance. Personally, I agree with the statements in terms of like, love winning over hate and like not, remembering that the country, the United States, is made up of many different cultures and races and peoples, and Puerto Rico is part of the country, like all of that kind of stuff. Yes, all of that. The halftime show was kind of like reminders of that because it seems like some people seem to think that like, if you're not white, you're not American or something. That kind of seems to be the trend that is going on, especially with ICE. And I don't usually get political on this podcast, but this is the topic, right? So she's clearly she supports like Trump and ICE. Like there's just no other explanation to this. Okay. So then she also criticized parts of the performance, saying that he was grabbing his G area every 5 seconds, which she called inappropriate. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, come on, Jill. It's 2026. There has been sexual innuendos, or like implications in Super Bowl halftime shows many times, and like sexy dancing and whatever. But because it's Bad Bunny and he's Puerto Rican and it's in Spanish, you have a problem with it. But I'm sure if it was like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. I'm sure if it was like Sabrina Carpenter and she was doing like a little like sexy dance and had her little like sparkly lingerie on, I bet you Jill Zarin wouldn't say anything, right? So Bravo Lebs have reacted. Okay. Chanel Ion said it's disgusting and that she had to unfollow Jill. What else? Crystal said idiots in response to Jill and Taylor and I'll go over this later, but Taylor Armstrong also made an idiotic statement. Tamara Judge said, what the actual fuck? And Candace Dillard went on a whole, like, quite thoughtful thread on Twitter. So she says, y'all need to learn how to appreciate people, places, and things that are not like you. English is not the only language that matters. English speakers do not need to be centered in everything. Exactly. Thank you, Candace. America is a land made richer because of her immigrants. Some of us came here by choice, some didn't. All of us deserve to be seen, heard, and represented. Like, why do I even need to say this? The entitlement it takes to believe art must translate itself for your comfort is wild. Instead of getting on Beyonce's internet to run your mouth, you could have sat there, swayed to the music. The Super Bowl halftime show was representation personified, artistic expression, a signal to the diaspora, a nod to resistance, and a reminder that culture does not need your permission. You don't have to understand every word to understand that it wasn't made to exclude you. It just wasn't made to center you, and that's okay. What a fantastic response from Candace. I mean, we all know Candace Dillard. She has a way with words and she can read people down. And this was a fantastic response. So thank you, Candace, for putting that out there. And you know what? One thing that really kind of spoke to me in this response is like the idea of, art and culture, like it doesn't always have to center you for you to enjoy it and be a part of it. We all enjoy artists who come from different backgrounds, cultures, perspectives, who make art that represents their lived experience and who kind of express themselves through that. And sometimes we can really connect closely with it. Sometimes we can't, but we can just empathize. Sometimes we just enjoy it. And that's all fine, right? Like it's just this idea that like, oh, if I'm not centered and represented on stage, then it must be bad, which is like so crazy that anyone even thinks that in this day and age, but clearly people do. Andy also commented when he was asked about it on Radio Andy, he said he was asked about Taylor and Jill, and he said, two people who are not employed by Bravo anymore. Call E. He's so glad that these two are not his problem anymore. Like he's so happy. He's like, thank God these people are not my problem. Okay. As a larger chested woman, one of my biggest issues is that I always need to be wearing a bra. But here's the thing, I want to be comfortable basically all the time. And, I go on these websites and I see these little triangle bralettes and things like that. And I'm just like, I can't wear that. It's just never going to work on me. And this is where Skims has come in and kind of saved the day, to be honest, because now with their Fits Everybody Scoop bralette, I am able to wear a bralette and it looks good. It doesn't give the dreaded like uniboob. It doesn't give the dreaded look of like it's all just meshed together and, you have no form and no shape there. It actually has support, but it's also comfortable and it looks really good. Like you don't lose your shape. And for me, that's important. And I want to look good in it. And I want to be able to nap in it. And I also want to be able to go to the grocery store and do all that stuff. So shop my favorite bras and underwear at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. The new year is officially here, and I think we're all getting pretty tired of winter. I know I am. So I'm keeping myself cheerful by looking forward to spring and getting my house spring ready with Wayfair. Wayfair has everything I need to rejuvenate my house for spring. One thing I'm working on right now and hoping to have done by spring is I'm redoing our primary bedroom. It's always been super basic, but my husband's putting up some wainscoting. And once he's done, I'll be adding a gorgeous wallpaper that I got from Wayfair. They have so many options, like the original type, peel and stick, wall decals. So I got this gorgeous woodland wallpaper. It's very subtle and in a beautiful faded green, very calming, and it's perfect with the more traditional wainscoting we're doing. It was so convenient how many options Wayfair had for wallpaper and literally everything else home. Plus, the best part, free shipping, of course. So get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. So Luann and Sonia are like now going out of their way to make sure that everyone knows that we are not like Jill. They are working overtime, posting every like Latin person that they've ever met on Instagram. And they're like, they both posted supportive things about the halftime show and Bad Bunny. And Luann reposted like that big banner that was in the audience at the Super Bowl where it was like love wins over hate every time or whatever. So they're both, they're showing us that please don't fire us, don't cancel us, don't come after us, etc. And like I'm not surprised. Like I don't think like out of that group, I would expect this opinion from Jill and Ramona, 100%. Sonia and Luann, I would not expect it from. Again, you never know. But, I'm glad that they're making it clear that they support the performance and all that kind of stuff and that they're not in line with Jill. Okay, so all of this kind of went down, and then it got, I think, way more backlash than Jill probably way more backlash than Jill expected. I mean, the internet was afire with not just Bravo celebrities responding, but just people in general and everybody talking about it, etc. There was a few other Bravo celebrities I forgot to mention. Katie Janella was like, at Miss Jill Zarin, why are your comments off now? Somebody at Jordy Cray commented, Jill Zarin is an idiot. And Heather Dubrow responded and said, beyond. Adriana Demora from Real Housewives of Miami said, I stand with the artists who refuse to dilute their identity for the sake of acceptance. Our worth is not up for translation. Who else? Who else responded? Yeah, so all those people had something to say, okay, which is great. I'm glad that they all spoke out. But soon after, all this backlash, we found out that Jill was fired. So, I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be so swift, I gotta say. But yeah, then I saw the update, like within, it was like, I don't know the exact time off the top of my head, but I think it was like within a day, but it was like Jill Zarin fired from E's RHONY reunion show, The Golden Life. Oh, that's what it's called. I forgot what it was called. After racist Bad Bunny tirade. So yeah, I mean, well deserved. If anyone deserved it, it was Jill. And then she eventually broke her silence about being fired from RHONY, saying, I'm human. That's such a Jill thing to say. I hate when people do that, when they say something that's like super offensive or racist. I'm human. She's like, I made a mistake. And then she goes, oh, I took the video down. I deleted it right after. It's like, okay, but it doesn't matter. Like you can take the video down and say you made a mistake, but it's not a mistake because that's what you really think. And that's it, period. So I understand why E let her go. And listen, I'm going to be honest. I think we all did E a favor too, and their production team, whoever's working on this show, because from what I've heard, Jill is one of the most nightmare human beings to work with. And I'll get into that a bit later. But they're like, apparently she is like overall disliked by like everyone in Bravo. Like she's just difficult to work with. She's just a difficult person in general. People don't like her. Like, it's not like the amount of Bravo celebrities who came out to speak up against her in waves just shows that like she was not given any benefit of the doubt, because I think they all know that like Jill's an asshole. And it's so funny because I was listening to Watch What Crappens recently, and they were saying how they had this interview with Jill that they did like years ago. And it was so long. It was supposed to be like 45 minutes, but it ended up being like 2 hours. She was prattling on and on. They said she was such a pain in the ass to interview, and that, they just didn't like her and like all this other stuff. So it was like, okay, the evidence is adding up against Jill. Okay, so here's the direct quote. Zarin says, they didn't even give me a chance. I took it down right away. People make mistakes. I'm human. Everyone on the internet is up in arms because they, oh, sorry, that's not from Jill. That's from a source. So that was what Jill said. And then a source said, everyone on the internet is up in arms because they love Jill and we're finally getting her back. E made a snap decision without even taking into account that Jill took it down right away. Jill will be back. This won't keep her down. People love her. That will never change. No one loves her. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sure her family and friends and maybe like a small group of fans love her, but to say people love her, like the audience at large that would watch this show and watch his Housewives, Jill is not like, well regarded, nor she's not someone who people are fighting to get back on TV. Like people arguing for this RHONY reboot, they're not even, it's not even for the Jill's generation. Everybody wants the later generation, the Bethany, Luann, Sonia, like everybody wants that group. Jill wasn't even part of like the beginning of RHONY was good, don't get me wrong, but like Jill wasn't even part of like the most iconic seasons. Like she's not what people are fighting for. People are fighting for like Luann and Sonia, let's be honest. So that's why I'm just kind of like, this sounds like her PR person is the source, or somebody from Jill's camp is the source, like 100%. So now that now that Jill is fired, it was announced shortly after that Dorinda is going to be filming following her firing. So, I mean, from the storm comes a rainbow after, right? It's like now we get some. Who would have thought in the first place to not have Dorinda? Like, who thought that was a good idea? I just don't like. Dorinda was part of the like iconic years of RHONY, like the most iconic ones. So why would you choose? I don't even get why that was a choice in the first place. But, we're happy. We're happy Dorinda's back because Dorinda's way more entertaining and way more fun than Jill. Okay, so let's just be honest. And obviously, Dorinda is more in the quote unquote good books with Bravo. She does the Radio Andy show. She's always at BravoCon, and she's always got lots of like, good grace amongst other Bravo celebrities and things like that. So clearly she's probably an easier choice. And for Dorinda to be easy, for Dorinda who gets hammered and, loses her mind, she's probably easier to work with than Jill. That says a lot. Okay. But I think it's true. So after the firing happened, there's been even more people coming out to kind of speak about this, but one maybe more unexpected one was Zarin Fabrics. Okay. So we all remember that Jill and Bobby used to own Zarin Fabrics. Now they do not own it anymore. Okay. So I believe it was sold or someone else took it over, whatever the case is. But they made a statement basically saying that, here, I'll read it. They said Zarin Fabrics this is on their Instagram, stands firmly against racism, discrimination, and rhetoric that seeks to exclude or diminish people based on identity, culture, or background. We want to be absolutely clear that Jill Zarin has not had ownership or been associated with Zarin Fabrics for several years. Our company operates independently, and any public statements attributed to her are made in a personal capacity and do not reflect our values, beliefs, or operations. Zarin Fabrics is built on creativity, collaboration, and respect for the diverse communities that shape art, culture, and expression. We condemn language or viewpoints that undermine those principles, and we remain committed to fostering an inclusive and welcoming environment in everything we do. Okay. And, I think some people at first were kind of like, well, they're just like saving face, etc. But then it seems like Jill's, I don't even know who it was. Oh, like some relative. Okay. I think it's like a step grandson, something like that, kind of came out and spoke out and said he was the one who posted that. And it also has a big picture of Jill with a big red X through her face. And that he posted that picture, and that, everyone in their family has had like falling outs and issues with Jill, himself included, and they don't speak to her. He hasn't spoken to her. So he even went on Reddit and didn't ask me anything. I'm like Jill's like step grandson or whatever it was, and how he hates her and all the issues they've had in their family, all because of Jill. So even her family is saying she's difficult. So yeah, so it doesn't look great for Jill Zarin at this point. Another person who made some comments after she got fired was Katie Janella, who posted and said, some people deservedly get fired from networks/shows for making racist videos. And then she made a little video, which I watched. And I thought she had a great point of like, it's just interesting that, some people get a pass. And maybe it's depending on the level of sort of like internet audience outrage. I don't know. But, I know exactly what she's referring to, which is Jen Pedranti and Gretchen Rossi's video that they made, which is just as bad as Jill's, if we're being honest. Now, that being said, Gretchen is no longer employed. So that's one thing. But Jen is, I'm just saying, like, I understand what Katie's saying. Like, and on top of that, Katie was fired. Like, why is Katie fired and Jen Pedranti's not? Like, that is pretty messed up, and I stand by that. I would rather have Katie. I know some people would rather have Jen. Maybe the network prefers Jen because she's getting married to Ryan, and we know he's definitely going to cheat on her soon. So they feel like she has more storyline. I don't know, but it's just, it's messed up either way, I think. Okay. Now, the other person who came out to speak about this, or people, I should say, are Giselle and Robin, who blasted Jill for her insensitive comments and kind of went on their podcast, Reasonably Shady, saying that Jill, she needs to learn as well that, like, you don't have to say everything that comes into your mind. Like, why did you think it's a good idea to pick up a microphone and start talking and saying these terrible things, and et cetera, et cetera. And then Reza from The Valley, Persian Style, was on Page Six Radio on virtual reality. Okay. And he gave some insight into Jill that was very interesting. Okay. So here's what he said. I couldn't leave this out because this was really good. So he said that Jill was bragging about being the reason that the RHONY reboot fell apart, like the initial one, the RHONY Legacy. So apparently Jill told Reza that she demanded the same amount of money as Luann. And when they said no, because Luann has been consistently on RHONY for all these years and Jill hasn't been on for a while, she was pissed, basically, and she wouldn't budge. And she kind of was like, I'm not doing it unless I get paid the same. So the reboot fell apart. And apparently she said she was really proud of that. She was proud that she stood her ground, and she was proud that, the show wasn't going on because of her. And I believe this 100%. I don't believe everything Reza says just because Reza said it, but I do believe this 100%. And I can totally see Jill being the type who's like, if I'm going down, I'm taking everybody with me. Like, she's totally that type, and the type who would be like, if I can't have it, you can't have it either. Like, she would not want the RHONY reboot to go unless she was on it. I could totally see that. The other thing that Reza said was that he worked with Jill on the show The GOAT, which was a competition reality show. This was a few years ago. He says that, they kind of started off on a bad foot because when Shaws of Sunset was in its heyday, she was fired from RHONY at that time. And apparently she spoke out against him, saying, Bravo has gone to the gutter and Reza is gross on the show, basically, because he's at a gay bar and sniffing armpits. So this is not Jill's first time saying offensive things. Then he said they were at an event, and like a Bravo event of some kind, and she actually wrote him an apology note and gave him cookies. So to say sorry. So he was like, okay, I don't really know this woman. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Then they were on The GOAT, and he said she was just awful. He said everyone at Bravo had warned him about her. So this is, again, that everyone at Bravo doesn't like Jill kind of thing. Apparently, he said everyone at Bravo had warned him about her, and he's like, they were all 100% right. He said he thought that they kind of had a good relationship on this show and that they were friends. And he understands that it's a competition show, but he didn't realize that not only was she working against him, she was in everyone's ear the whole time talking shit about him. I mean, that's very Jill. I mean, that was kind of the reason that her and Bethany fell apart, is because, if somebody else is, successful or is doing well, etc., she starts trying to sabotage. That was exactly what she did with Bethany. Right. So it is pretty crazy. Like, Jill does have a pattern, and it's funny because she's not sabotaging anyone more than herself. Right. It's really this self-sabotage behavior. So, we are glad she's fired. I don't think she was going to add anything to the reboot. I think she would have annoyed people, and I think she would have got fired after the first season anyways. So, better to just rip the Band-Aid now, I guess. So Jill Zarin is not the only RHONY OG member who's in a little bit of trouble after this Super Bowl halftime show, because Bethany went on her TikTok, as Bethany does, because Bethany has to say something about everything. Bethany never cannot have an opinion. So she went on TikTok and she went on this kind of little mini, I don't know. It wasn't really a rant. I don't know what it was. But she went on and she was going on about how, where's kind of the line of like entertainment versus being political. And she was like, I'm not like, against the Super Bowl halftime show, etc. She's like, but we have like celebrities speaking out at award shows and stuff like that. She's like, when she's like, should the Super Bowl be the thing where like, it's just entertainment, nothing political? She's like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Where's the line? Da da da. Like that was basically the opinion. She didn't say anything about like the kind of stuff that Jill said, but it's funny because she, at the beginning of the video, she goes, okay, time for me to get canceled. Like she knows that maybe her opinion isn't like the popular opinion. And, her opinion on that was pretty stupid, in my opinion, because the idea of like separating art and politics is just not realistic because artists reflect what is going on in the time that they're living. It could be like, whether it's them singing about a relationship or mental health or social issues or political issues. That's what art is. Art is a reflection of reality and sort of like their experiences and perceptions. So I think like to kind of argue that it has to be just entertainment is like, well, having art that is about something political is entertainment still. Like, I just think her point is stupid in the first place. Anyways, point of the story here is that she deleted this video very soon after, but as we know, it gets screen recorded. And then she put up a new one, kind of more praising the halftime show. And people are calling her on it, of course. I think a lot of people were distracted by the Jill Zarin thing, so lucky for Bethany. But then she put up this new video clapping back, and she says she's neither woke nor MAGA, and she isn't going anywhere. And she says, this is who I am, unfollow me or cancel me. Here's my issue with Bethany is like, I wish I could believe her that is how she truly feels, but you deleted your first video and made a new one. So to say that like she's going on in this video how she doesn't care what people think and if you don't like her just unfollow her, clearly you do care because you put out your authentic opinion the first time. Then you saw maybe what happened to Jill and that it wasn't popular and whatever, so you deleted it and made a whole new video. Like no one cares more than you. Like you can say you don't care, you can say I'm not woke, I'm not MAGA. You can say whatever you want, but you clearly care what people think. I have to say, I never feel truly put together until I have a manicure. It just makes me feel better, gives me more confidence, but I'm so bad at doing them and I can't afford to be going to the salon all the time. And that's why I love Olive and June. I got their gel mani system and it has changed my life. I love not having to make an appointment at the salon and being able to do it as nice as the salon, but at home for way less money. Olive and June's gel mani system comes with everything you need for salon quality nails in one box. A 5-finger LED lamp, salon grade tools, and their HEMA-free gel polish that lasts up to 21 days. And they have an incredible selection of colors. Cashmere Kiss and Blush Jelly are my personal faves. And the best thing about Olive and June is how professional it looks compared to when I've tried to do it myself. It's honestly day and night. And I love being able to sit on my couch, watch The Real Housewives, relax, and do my nails. A dream. So visit oliveandjune.com/Bravo Papers for 20% off your first system. That's oliveandjune.com/BRAVOPAPERS for 20% off your first system. And you do care about being followed because you do make money off of views and follows. Like, that's why she does so many TikToks. That's why she reacts to everything. It's not because, like, it is partly because Bethany thinks her opinion is like, worth $1 million in gold, but it's also because she literally makes money every time somebody watches her TikToks. It's just passive money. All she has to do is post and get a lot of views. So for her, and we know that's the most important thing for her. So I'm not buying this bullshit. I'm also not buying that she doesn't care what people think. Because the fact that you made a whole new video and deleted the other one, you clearly do, Bethany. Okay? Okay. So we are going to go to some Orange County news because while we're on this topic of the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff, I guess this could have been Beverly Hills too. I don't know. The last show Taylor Armstrong was on was OC, so I'm filing it under OC, okay? Because Jill Zarin was not the only one to get into some trouble. Well, Jill and Bethany. There's actually quite a list of people who did after the Super Bowl halftime show. So Taylor Armstrong shared a meme on her Instagram story that, by the way, was not funny at all. Like, I'm offended by this from a comedy standpoint. Like, if you're going to make a meme, at least make it good. Like, this is so shoddy. It's like, you know, the gladiator meme where it's like, are you not entertained? So it's the gladiator guy, but she put her own face on it, and she put her face from that famous meme of her and the cat. And then in the corner, the cat is there with his like, oh my God face. And then she puts, were you entertained? I am embarrassed for the at NFL and Apple for the Super Bowl halftime show, totally in Spanish with a Cuban flag. Okay, first of all, the meme makes no sense. Like the meme, like I get she says, were you entertained? Like it's stupid. It's just not funny. Okay, so first of all, your meme sucks. That's the first problem. And second of all, I mean, I don't think I need to explain why people did not like this. So Taylor, you know, just like Jill eventually came out with an apology. Taylor's is much more AI written, I believe. She says, I want to address my earlier Instagram post about the Super Bowl halftime show. My post did not fully reflect my heart or my respect for the artist and culture as a whole. It didn't okay, so it didn't fully respect your opinion. So what you're saying is that is your opinion, but maybe you have more that you could add to it that you think would make it better. I don't know. The Super Bowl is such a huge American tradition, and while I personally didn't connect with the creative direction of this year's halftime show, that doesn't take away from the fact that Bad Bunny is an American and that the Spanish language is a prominent aspect of American culture. Yeah, this is definitely AI written. And again, this is exactly what Candace was saying in this verse. I personally didn't connect with it. You don't need to connect with it. It's not about you. Bronwyn. Remember when Gina said that on OC? It's not about you. Like, it's not. It's just a show for entertainment, and you're allowed to not like it. But like, you know, when you come out and complain specifically because it's in Spanish, then it's like, okay, you know, you're getting into this kind of, you know, dangerous territory, right? So then she says, evidently my lack of awareness of the Latin culture led me to mistake the flag as Cuban. Yeah, so that's the other thing is she said that there's a Cuban flag. Like, no, it's Puerto Rican, you moron. Okay, I sincerely apologize and plan to learn from this in the future. America is special because people from every culture and background can come here, share their talent, and make their dreams come true. That diversity is something I truly respect. My intention was never to offend anyone's culture or language, and I'm deeply sorry to those who I have hurt. I should have taken more time to reflect on my thoughts instead of impulsively posting misinformation in the moment. I apologize to the Latin community and anyone else I may have offended. I'm always learning, always growing, and I appreciate the opportunity to clarify my heart and move forward with more thoughtfulness. Okay, I mean, it's a nice AI apology, but I believe 0% of it. Okay, let's go to some other news. So apparently Tamra and Shannon were pulled from the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip finale after they had an explosive fight. Now, this is according to the Daily Mail, and it's not like 100% verified, so take it with a grain of salt. But this is the quote unquote word on the street, as Giselle Bryant would say. So apparently this went down at a bunko party in Orange County where they were filming with a bunch of like past and present OC wives. Okay, so the insider told Daily Mail that the fight was started by Judge Tamra Judge and Giselle Bryant. So apparently Tamra and Giselle started poking at Shannon, and of course she reacted as she always does, and then it just spiraled from there. Everybody thought it was going to be a fun party to celebrate OC, so the drama took everybody by surprise. As a result, Bravo decided to axe both Judge and Bedore from their scheduled appearance at the RHUGT finale, which was filmed at Dorinda Medley's Bluestone Manor and featured a who's who of legendary housewives. However, the pair are set to face each other again in a matter of days when filming kicks off for RHOC for their landmark 20th season. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to believe that they would be excluded from the finale because they got into an argument. Like, isn't that what Housewives is? So they're getting excluded because they were doing their job? That just seems a little weird to me. I feel like there's more to this story than that. But yeah, I guess we'll find out as time goes on. And I guess we'll find out when we actually see the finale. Now I'm thinking I should have gone back to Dorinda's post because there was all these pictures from Dorinda's Bluestone Manor finale party. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, was Tamra in those? Was Shannon in those? I don't remember seeing them. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that they weren't there. Unless it turned like, I don't know, unless it turned physical or something, but it doesn't say it turned physical. So unless it got like so extreme, like someone threw a drink or something, but I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. And I really need this RHUGT thing. I really need it to air because I'm seeing so many pictures and, oh, now they're here, now they're there. And I know they've wrapped up and stuff, but like, I'm just like, give it to me. Like, put it in my veins. Like, I need this show now. In other OC news, that's a little bit sad. Just a warning here, a little bit of a trigger warning here, actually, because there's going to be discussion of addiction, of sexual assault, homelessness, okay, all this stuff. Because RHOC alum Lynn Curtin. So I think we all remember, all us OC fans, we remember that really famous moment where somebody an eviction notice was served at Lynn Curtin's home on camera to Lynn's children. And Lynn was not home. So her teenage daughters were home and they got the eviction notice. And it was obviously a really scary moment. And then it kind of, it kind of came out that like this family was sort of like, and I don't want to say family, but that like Lynn and her husband were like overspending and that they had tons of like credit and debt and all this kind of stuff. And they had to move out of that house and they couldn't make rent. So it was kind of like this lifestyle she was trying to portray was, a facade. And again, she's not the first housewife who's been in that situation. Is she the first to get evicted on camera? Absolutely. And, there was always a lot of criticism of Lynn and her husband for a lack of discipline with their daughters. It seemed like their daughters just kind of could do whatever they want. There weren't really any rules. They would just like buy them whatever they wanted. Like it was just, and because of that, the daughters were, kind of taking advantage of that, being a little bit more rebellious, not listening to curfew and stuff like that, even when Lynn tried to do it. And I know that Lynn's daughter, Alexa Curtin, has had a really rough go. So the older daughter, that would be Raquel, she seems to be doing okay. I know she's in her mid 30s. She has a child named Carter. And she models, her mom still has a jewelry line. Raquel models for the jewelry line. She also is an OnlyFans, she has an OnlyFans. She's been doing that for a long time. Like I remember a few years ago, someone talking about like, oh, where are Lynn Curtin's daughters now? And people talked about how Raquel has an OnlyFans and she has like a pseudonym, but apparently she's got a lot of, followers, etc., and makes a good living on there, etc. So she seems to be doing okay. However, Alexa, who's the younger daughter, has, is having some trouble. So she was recently interviewed. It was like a street interview. And she revealed in the interview that she's homeless. She's addicted to fentanyl. She was in a bad accident, like I think it was a car accident. And she, because of that accident, is missing 2 fingers, which is terrible. And says that, a lot of this is because she had a really unstable childhood. which, yeah, I mean, I'm not fully surprised. She also discusses sexual assault claims. And I had heard about this before. So the sexual assault claims are not news to me. But I know that this was a thing years ago where I can't remember the exact details in the situation, but basically she was sexually assaulted by a police officer who had been called to, I can't remember what the scene was, whether they were called to like something in relation to drugs or whatever. But, she said she was assaulted by this officer and, nothing was done about it, which is not surprising because it's a police officer and just so devastating. And that she was pretty young when this happened. Not that it matters, it's traumatizing at any age, but that she was pretty young when this happened. And, it seems like her life has just gone down a really bad path from all this trauma. And, I'm sure the unstable childhood is kind of like what started it, right? So she says in the video as well that she has no phone, and that she's struggling and things are not good. So it's really sad for her. I do hope and always think that like, you know, it's not too late. Fentanyl is obviously a really serious drug and really dangerous to be addicted to. I really hope that maybe this video coming to light and being online can spark something in maybe Lynn or their family so that they can try to, I know you can't force someone to get help. They have to want to get it, but maybe this could be the start of moving in that direction. I don't know. But anyways, a very sad story. Very, very sad. But I'm wishing all the best for Alexa and their family, and I hope she can get out of this. Okay, let's go to something a little lighter. Let's talk about the Traitors. Nothing lighter than some competition reality TV, of course. So there's going to be some spoilers here, depending on where you are in the Traitors. I have not watched this week's episode, so there's no spoilers for this week's episode. But if you're like 2 episodes behind or something, you may want to just go to the timestamps in the description of the episode and you can scroll ahead, okay? Now, Candace was on Watch What Happens Live recently, and she was asked about her throwaway vote and was it a bad move? And she says that it was not a bad move. She says because Rob was a mute at all of the roundtables. And all of a sudden, at this last one, the one where she gets voted out, he was doing, as Candace says, a State of the Union address, and that she thought that looked so suspicious. So she didn't think, at least in the moment, I guess, that throwaway vote was a bad move. Now, that being said, I get what she's saying. Here's the thing. It could have gone in a couple different directions. I think if Rob wasn't like an attractive, like super hot white guy, I think that Candace sending that smoke signal to the group would have gotten Rob kicked off as well. You know what I mean? Like by the next week, Rob would be gone or whatever. Like I still think Candace would have gone home. But he's getting a lot of benefit of the doubt because they just think he's like hot and sweet, right? And he is playing these leftover traitors like a fiddle. I mean these leftover faithfuls like fiddles. And I'm not going to lie, they're not like the best faithfuls. They don't seem to be the brightest faithfuls when it comes to figuring out the game, at least. I'm not saying they're not smart in other situations. But yeah, I can understand Candace's logic. Was it a bad move at the end of the day? Yes. Could it have been a good move depending on the way people reacted, etc.? Yes, because it could have been kind of like, well, if you're going to take me down, I'm going to take you down too. So yeah, it could have been a good move in that sense, but it just wasn't because these faithfuls are just not faithfuling in the way that they should. I know it's easier said than done from an audience standpoint, right? Now, somebody posted a video kind of comparing Rob and the way he acted on Love Island to the way he's acting on The Traitors. And Rob replied and said, "This is actually ridiculous." And then Candace replied and said, "Is it?" And then Rob replied and said, "It's a game, Candace." And Candace replied and said, "Grow up, Robbie Bobby. Gaslighting ages you." Okay. Now, I have heard that the Traitors reunion filmed. Well, not heard. I know it filmed. The Traitors reunion filmed, I think it was yesterday on Friday. And from what I am hearing, it was a little raucous. And I have even heard that Andy kind of lost his shit a little bit or got really frustrated because, he couldn't get the group back under control. That is the word on the street being the internet. So, yeah, I think we're in for a good reunion. That being said, I'm not going to lie, I'm not as excited to watch. Like now that Candace is gone and Rinna's gone, and Rinna was a terrible traitor, don't get me wrong. I mean, how that woman made it in any capacity as an actor is astounding to me. But what I will say is that, she was entertaining. There was entertaining people on the show, and now there just aren't. I just feel like the people left are kind of boring. So I don't know. I'm not as excited to watch this week's episode, which is why it's Saturday and I still haven't watched it. But I will. I'm still going to stick with it to the end because, I already put this time in. So I can't just abandon it now, guys. Anyways, we'll see. Maybe things will pick up a bit. Okay, let's do some Married to Medicine news because it seems that Quad and King have broken up, which I don't know. I think I'm kind of happy about this because I feel like I didn't love his attitude in like the last, this season specifically. Like last season, I liked him. But this season, I feel like I'm seeing a different side of him. And sometimes I just don't like, I feel like he's a little snarky with Quad sometimes. I don't know. And like, I get that Quad is maybe not like always the easiest person to be with, but yeah, I don't know. And then what he said in regards to this breakup, it's not nice to say the least. Okay. So he basically confirms that they've called it quits and says, I left that situation. So he posted like a video on Instagram, and he's like taking his shirt off and all this stuff, and someone replied and was like, I don't think they are together anymore, because people in the comments were like commenting if they're together, and then he replied and said, I can confirm that I left that situation. Like, I don't even like that he called it a situation, because when you're saying it's a situation, it sounds like it's like a bad incident or like it's something negative. I don't know. It just has like a negative connotation. And I feel like that's not respectful to Quad. And then somebody else commented and said, just so handsome, Quad is a lucky woman. And he replied, luck ran out. Like, I get that he's replying to the lucky woman, but to say her luck ran out, like, I just think that's so rude. And maybe your luck ran out. I don't know. Like, what, are you so much better than her? Like, she's a gorgeous, beautiful woman who has a lot to offer, who makes good money and is famous and well liked amongst a lot of the audience. So maybe your luck ran out. How about that? Okay. All right. So that was one thing. And, Quad did make a statement about it as well. I forgot to screenshot it. Shoot. But that being said, Quad made like a normal statement. Like she made like we have decided, like one of those like typical breakup ones, like we've decided to go our separate ways and I still have a respect and love for him. Like it was one of those, which is the other thing that pisses me off. Cause it's like, why does it always feel like it's the woman who has to make the more, like who has to be the bigger person? Like can't we all be the bigger person when it comes to a breakup? Like breakups happen. It's okay. We don't necessarily need like a villain in a breakup. Sometimes it just doesn't work out and that's okay. But, you don't have to make it like you're so much better than her. My only thought is like maybe she broke up with him and maybe that's why he's so salty, which is possible. I don't know. I guess we're going to see. So I guess Quad has another good storyline for next season, which is good because I'm getting kind of like over the Quad. I mean, they've been doing this for 11 years, but the Quad versus Dr. Simone it's getting a little repetitive. Okay. The Toya versus Heavenly, it's a lot. It's a lot to do on repeat. So it's always nice when we have kind of like and I'm okay with it actually, if we have other new angles that are coming in. So I'm happy to see that is not happy about the breakup. I feel sad for Quad, but happy to see that we have new angles for the show as well. So Dr. Eugene was on the Carlos King podcast and he was talking about this and he said he was not surprised about Quad and King splitting because he saw it coming, he says, because their relationship became solely focused on having a baby. And he said, quote, they just weren't on the same page. They never had the full experience of falling in love, which, I mean, maybe he's right, because it's kind of like, you know, they fell in love and they got together, but then they soon both wanted this baby. And I think Quad was maybe kind of feeling like, well, my biological clock is ticking and I'm getting up there, so I need to like get on this. So there wasn't that time to just like enjoy, get married, have an engagement, etc. You know, that can be kind of tough, right? I mean, this is why you need to freeze your eggs, I think. But I don't know if like freezing her eggs is, I don't even know how old Quad is. She doesn't look old because she looks so good, so it's hard to say. But yeah, anyways, it sucks. It sucks they broke up. But listen, I think Quad can do better. So how about that? Okay. Now we have another little tiff going on social media between Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Simone, which I mean, again, is not new to any of us, but it continues. So Dr. Heavenly posted in response to someone, yes, I did reality TV and I was golden at it, but this is personal. I'm a professional. I showed up, stood in my truth, and built something powerful. So she's talking about her like being on reality TV and also running for politics. She says, now my community needs me, and the same bold, smart, fearless woman you saw before will be golden in Congress too. Hashtag Dr. Heavenly for Georgia. And then Dr. Simone replied, okay, get ready, and said, your community is not interested in a fool. Okay, tell us what you really think. She said, never has been, never will be. They are better than you aspire to be. And then somebody else, like some other random commenter, replied saying it was disappointing that Dr. Simone would say that. And then Dr. Simone replied and said, actually, it's disappointing that a fool who clowns on social media is thinking that she can bring the same foolery to Congress. Enough is enough, and we can't add to it. I mean, it's not crazy that she thinks she can be a politician, though. I'm sorry, but take a look at the president of the United States. Take a look at Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was the governor in California. Like, it is not insane that Dr. Heavenly, there is a precedent, unfortunately, and I'm not comparing Dr. Heavenly to Schwarzenegger or Trump by any stretch, but what I'm saying is people who are celebrities, quote unquote, or on reality TV, quote unquote, and have like some fame, etc., they think that because of that, they can be politicians and that they know politics, right? Like, it's not, and I respect that Dr. Heavenly, it seems like Dr. Heavenly is doing this for the right reasons, like, you know, not for the same reasons that people like Donald Trump, of course, are doing it, which is because he's like a megalomaniac and a psychopath and just wants power and control, right? It does seem like Dr. Heavenly actually wants to help and make a difference in her community. And I really respect that. Even though I don't always agree with everything Dr. Heavenly says, I do respect that. But like, to say it's crazy that Dr. Heavenly thinks she can run in politics, it's really not, because really, as we've seen, really anyone can run. Like, you really just have to be an American citizen and you can run. If you have money and if you have a platform like she does, then you can run. So, you know, I gotta disagree with Dr. Simone on that, but I do understand what Dr. Simone is saying. Like, she's saying that like, this woman is not a good person. She acts a fool on social media. She spreads rumors about people. Like, why would people want her as their representative in any way? And I also understand what Dr. Simone is saying is like, we have enough like tomfoolery in politics. Like, why are we adding more? I think that's what she's saying. Meanwhile, Dr. Jackie was on Watch What Happens Live, and she was kind of defending Dr. Heavenly in regards to the latest episode of Married to Medicine. And I think I talked about this last week, but Dr. Simone commented and was like, okay, I see that you are like still defending the devil or something like that. And now it has come to my attention that they have unfollowed each other on social media, which is sad because, you know, they were always like the friendship goals, you know, like the two of them, they would go and have their little salad lunch out at the picnic benches, and it was cute and we all loved it. And they were like that dynamic duo, you know? So, and that it did get interrupted and it did get sort of stained by Heavenly and, you know, Dr. Jackie liking Heavenly, Dr. Simone not liking her to just, I mean, I'm really simplifying the situation. It's much more nuanced than that, but that is kind of the, the bottom line of it. But now it seems like that's happening again. So they've unfollowed each other and yeah, not good. So we hope for reconciliation, at least I do, and I hope that Dr. Heavenly is not going to be causing the end of this friendship once again. In terms of other Married to Medicine cast members, Dr. Mimi, who's like one of the newest members of Dr. Medicine, Married to Medicine, and I'm enjoying her on the show. I'm really enjoying Dr. Mimi. Says that co-star Toya Bush Harris should mind her business because she has a lot of stuff going on in her home. And Dr. Mimi says in her interview with Virtual Reality that she thinks that Toya is just like a drama causer. Like she is someone who is always looking for drama and looking for conflict. I mean, obviously, that's why she's on her 11th season of Married to Medicine and why she's one of the staples and stars of the show. Let's just be honest. Because I mean, you know, Dr. Jackie and Dr. Simone, you know, Dr. Simone is very entertaining and she's also a doctor, right? Dr. Jackie, she's not always the most entertaining, but, you know, she is like kind of like those two really bring like the medical aspect and they're like the women who are in medicine, etc. And then you have like Toya and the who are married to doctors and like those people and they are good on the show too, but like if you don't have like the medical aspect at all, you've got to bring something else too. I mean, I guess they bring the like what it's like to be married to a doctor, which I do enjoy that. Yeah, and I guess we have doctors who've been fired before, like what's her name, Contessa. She's bad. I don't think she adds anything to the show if I'm going to be honest, but she's just like whatever, she's there. But I am enjoying Dr. Mimi. I really like her. And I understand what she's saying about Toya being a mess. But, you know, my advice for her would be that's never going to change. So get used to it. Get used to it and kind of, you know, get in the mix with Toya because I think Dr. Mimi seems to be liked by the audience. And I think she's a good person to have on the show who can go up against Toya. I enjoy Toya on the show a lot. I really like Toya. I know a lot of people don't, but I just find her so funny. I love Dr. Eugene. Her buying houses every year, I just think it's hilarious. Like, you know, you don't have to think she's maybe like the best person. And I can disagree with her with some of the drama she causes, but do I want her off my TV? No, she needs to be on my TV forever. Okay. Okay. So I think we're going to end it there for part 1. And for part 2, I have a lot more, guys. Like I am like barely halfway through. So make sure you go back to your feed and join me for part 2. Bye.